Okay, so the Necronomicon. You know, a lot of people say it's a just totally fake book. It's useless, this and that. I think that there is definitely some bootleg spells and stuff in there, and some different things that weren't just around. That, you know, it's kind of like a Babylonian version of the Goetia, I would say, in some parts. But of course, there's some fantasy to it. And part of the H.P. Lovecraft myth was that a mad Arab, I'm reading the book, I'm sorry, I don't know if that's a good term, the 8th century AD by the mad Arab Abdul al-Hazred. So that intrigued me as a 12, 13-year-old teenager. And I did some research on who this mad Arab might be in real life, or maybe based on. So I found, just, you know, through, I would consider it chaos magic, I would call it now, or circumstance or whatever. I found an author called Al-Kindi. And Al-Kindi was a, you know, Islamic philosopher. He did a lot of philosophy, but he also did something on magic, because at the time when he was around, magic was just as real as anything else. No one would say, how does magic, but, you know, most people didn't even say, how did magic work? They're like, how to protect against magic, you know? Give me a charm to protect against magic. Give me, you know, teach me an incantation that will save me from my crops being destroyed, or my cow dying, or whatever, in the Middle Ages. That's how it was. But Al-Kindi wanted, you know, was a big thinker. He was kind of like a Islamic Plato, I would, you know, something like that. So, you know, and his work was called The Stellar Rays. It's not even in English. It's not even in Arabic. It's only in Latin. Everything else has been lost. So I you know, I was hard to get, you know, in the 80s, it was hard to get a hold of this stuff, to even know about Al-Kindi, to even have a copy of this obscure text about magic, The Stellar Rays. So what Al-Kindi said was, the stellar rays are, you know, it's like kind of a radiation language, and it creates us all. You know, it comes down, you know, it could be from the sun, from the stars, from the universe, from the gods, from whatever source. And, you know, it comes down, and these stellar rays create reality. And because we are made of that same stuff, you know, we can create reality too, because we're part of the stellar rays. And humans are so advanced that they can actually, this is what Al-Kindi says, of course, and I agree. I don't know, the stellar rays could be, you know, that you could change the stellar rays that his thinking to string theory, to atoms, to, you know, electromagnetism. I mean, you could use any kind of scientific term to replace the stellar rays. This is an archaic term in the, you know, around the 8th century, like it says here. So that's why, you know, a long time ago, I thought maybe Al-Kindi. So I read Al-Kindi, or, you know, learned Latin and tried to read Al-Kindi. And basically he said, you know, there's stellar rays. It's like these hidden rays. And if you're a seer, if you're a mage, if you're a wizard, if you know how to like do things, you could see the stellar rays, and you can see the future. You could see the past. You know, you could change things. You could divinate. You could invoke. You could, you know, evoke by speaking. You could just speak your reality into being. You know, most people do that. They just say, "Give me that," and that's their incantation. And most people are like, "Well, why not? I'll give you that." That's a magical act. You know, I mean, you've incantated something to come to you. You've used your voice to do that. Writing, you use writing. We use, you know, then we go to paper. We go to computers, you know, anything on there. Those are magical acts, even though they don't seem like it to us, because they're just so mundane and commonplace. So Al-Kindi believed that we had these stellar rays, and the stellar rays could be affected. The number one way, he said, is by incantation, you know. And you know, this is not just saying, I want this, because that's not, you know, I want this to be, there's certain ways, you know, you have to think it, you have to do things right, you have to, you know, you don't just say, I want this and I want that. We all know that, because if we did that, and on top of that, we wouldn't want to do that. Because if I had my mind slip and think of an elephant, maybe I'll see an elephant at the zoo, or I'll see an elephant next week, or I'll see an elephant on TV. That's fine. I don't want an actual elephant to come to my place and tear things up. So it's really good that we don't have exactly what, when we say we want this, or some thought that we can't control comes to our mind and it manifests it immediately. But our thoughts do manifest things, and our speech does manifest things, and it does matter. And we can create a reality with it. So going beyond that, Al-Kindi, because this is the old days, and you know, we still do practice some of this stuff. He talked about animal sacrifice, which was big back then. You know, and this was also within the Bible traditions up until, you know, the New Testament, or, you know, up until Christianity. In the Old Testament and before the temple was destroyed, you know, they did animal sacrifice. Kindi said, you know, when an animal dies or does its own thing, it's just doing its own thing. And like, you know, the stellar rays just if it dies naturally, you know, the animal will the stellar rays will just kind of like amalgamate back into the all, and it'll just, you know, go like that. But when a conscious being, you know, ends the animal's life with the right preparation and everything, and eats the animal and loves the animal and loved it and all that, then that changes things drastically. And I'm not really for animal sacrifice, but I'm not a vegetarian. I do eat meat, and you know, I don't kill my own meat, but you know, maybe we all should, and we'll know more about that. So I'm not, you know, I'm not for animal sacrifice, but if I eat meat, you know, I shouldn't be against it either, honestly. Doing it in a certain way and using the blood and all this stuff that they talked about in the old Middle Ages. I don't think it's a sin or anything. I think, why not? The animal is giving us sustenance. We have to eat things. We have to process the environment as human beings. We can't just live off the sun, even though that's like another thing that comes up in magic, that maybe we can live off the sun. So anyway, I got to learn about these stellar rays, and I could replace it with anything in scientific, you know, string theory or whatever. I mean, the reason we have magic is because our minds have a limit. I mean, you know, I have my phone, I have my GoPro. I don't know how this works totally. If somebody told me to make one of these, I couldn't do it. That doesn't mean I can't make a video on it. That doesn't mean, you know, I can't be recording on the phone right now. I can't make a cell phone. It's not magic, it's tech, but that's how it was back then. You know, they thought that there was people in big high towers, wizards that were creating these. And now we have, you know, factories in China that create these things, you know, amazingly. And we don't know how it works. We need a microscope or whatever. So this is my take. Well, you know, from the Necronomicon, I found Kindi. I don't have a book about Kindi. It's very rare. I think I don't even think there's still not an English version of the Stellar Rays was the book about magic, explaining how magic works. I don't think there's still even one out there. So the Stellar Rays, you know, to do this, the Stellar Rays are like, you know, string theory or atoms or whatever you want to say. It's kind of a language that creates reality. You know, when you get into Enochian, you know, you could go to the angels or what they call the angels or the spirits, and you see how they kind of make reality. That's what Kindi was hinting at. And he's saying, you know, you move the stellar rays with all your actions, all your speech, everything you do. You move your actions. You get results by your reality. You don't like the results, then do different things. And here's magic books to show you how to do different things and try them out in the Middle Ages. Modernly, you know, we have therapies, we have watching shows, you know, we have a lot of different ways to do these things that, you know, we wouldn't consider spells or magic, but they really are. They do change our minds, bodies, and soul by you know, bringing us in, you know, whether it's a movie or a story, you know, any of that stuff. Reading a book, this stuff changes us and changes the way that we act and changes the way that we interact with the reality. So the Necronomicon, in my opinion, even though this is the only thing available, and a lot of people say, it's fake, it's not cool, this and that, you know, it's the Mad Arab, doesn't really sound cool, you know. I mean, I don't know, in America, you know, we had problems with the war, 20 years war with the Arabs anyway, over 9/11, but I think that, you know, it led me to Kindi, and Kindi's a genius, and I understood magic because I understood Kindi, and I learned Latin, and I did all these things and became a different being. And that's what I think being a mage is you learn. It's a lifelong learning, lifelong changing things until you get things that you like in your life, and for whatever life you have. If I was 20, I would probably want a different life, but I'm 50. So I want this life now. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I don't want too much excitement. You know, my kids are older, and now I can maybe get a motorhome and drive around and just adventure for 20 more years, I hope. 30 more. Who knows? You know, who knows? Maybe we'll all live past 100, or we'll averaging 100, depending on how technology goes. Okay, well, this is Guion, and I'm signing off.